Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Code, the July edition. Have you ever wondered of switching your roles in tech? Have you ever thought about changing your present career and moving to something very different? Well, I guess this video is for you. Yeah, today I'll be hosting the show, and I have with me Mr. AJ and Idris, and both are different techies in in the Nigerian industry. Okay, so before I bring them up, I would like you to subscribe to this channel so that you won't miss further videos, and you can go through the description. You will see past editions of sorry past editions of the webinar. Okay, so now I will be bringing up Mr. AJ and Idris for a more extensive introduction of themselves and their former roles, their new roles, and everything in between. So firstly, I'll be inviting Mr. AJ right now to introduce himself. Welcome, Mr. AJ.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Rex. Good to be here. Good evening. How you doing?
Uh, I'm doing fine. So we would like to know you more. The audience like to know you more, your present role, your former roles. Just give us an extensive introduction.
Okay. Well, I don't know how extensive it will be, but yeah. I lead marketing at Dojah. Dojah is a startup providing identity verification services for digital businesses. And prior to that, I had previous roles as growth and marketing lead at a digital bank in Nigeria called Fondor. And then I also was spent some time at Fairmoney as a marketing executive. However, I've spent most of my time at a brand consulting agency as the marketing partner, and leading marketing activities and strategy. And that's what kind of so worked over a couple of years, about 4 or 5 years, helping first with design, and then also going to creating brand strategies, content strategies, and campaigns for Fourth Canvas as a company, and also for the clients of the company. So yeah, that's pretty much how my journey has been, and happy to you know go even into deeper details as we proceed in the conversation today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. AJ. We're glad to have you. So right now, bringing up Idris to do the same thing, to give us a more extensive introduction of himself and everything in between. So welcome, Idris.
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rex. I really appreciate that introduction. My name is Idris Olubisi. I am a software engineer and a technical writer. I currently work for Mara. I work as a developer relations engineer at Mara, and so my journey started like the regular developer that you would know, or starting out with internship. Um, Then from there, I moved on to become like a full-time software developer, and also I work with a couple of countries across a couple of companies across the Europe, from UK, UX, and before I now finally joined Mara as a developer relations engineer. And over the time, I've always been like a content creator. That's a part-time content creator. I create content. I have my own content. I write for a couple of publications, like Free Code Camp, Section Engineering, Web3, Ashnode, Log Rocket, and among others. So um, I've been dabbling between software development and also content creation over time, which yeah, that pretty much covers my bio. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Idris.
Yeah, in
We
addition to
love
that,
that.
sorry, I forgot to add
Okay.
something.
No
Also,
problem.
the founder of Web3 Africa, a community
Uh,
focused on building the Web3 ecosystem in Africa, and also helping Web3 builders leverage on great opportunity to grow and also build projects that's actually useful to solve Africans' problem and the problems generally that's worldwide.
Thank you very much, Idris. Really appreciate the
Yeah,
extensive
you're welcome.
introduction. So, well, I'll be throwing this next question to you because you started it. So, I'd like to just move with the flow. Okay, so your story in tech.
Yeah.
How can you give us a very, you know, the full story? We'd like to know, we
Okay.
have to relate to how it has been from the foundational parts to where you are now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the journey has been around, you know, software development, but at some point, I figured out that I could also be a contributor, helping somebody somewhere. So, you know, as a software developer, you have most times you Google stuff, and you have people to reach out to for help. And basically, the major ones is around checking Stack Overflow, Google, and the like. So this is something that at some point I figure out that okay, how can I contribute also? I can figure out some things um, that I'm working on currently, and share that particular thing for some other people to benefit from it. So the concept, like, that curiosity started. So I now figure out that I need to pay some attention to content creation. So the journey has been between software, building software products, working as a backend engineer, and now creating pattern content, like content in pattern. Like in my free time, I just create content and publish on publications, and also applying to write for a couple of publications so that I could, improve on my skills, my writing skills and technical skills at the same time. So I would say generally it's focused around, building and also building in public. So building in public has helped me to land couple of jobs, like lots of them, I would say, and also leveraging on communities like Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn rather, Twitter, LinkedIn majorly. I was able to reach out to people, apply for opportunities directly on my in my DM, and yeah, so building in public has also been part of my journey, starting out as a software developer. Yeah, so Rex, are
Oh,
you there? I think I pretty
yes,
much
I'm
covered.
there.
Yeah.
Yes. You covered the land. Thank you very much. From what you said, you moved from being back-end engineer to content creator, then developer, and well, it's been a story. Okay, so I would like to throw the same question to Mr. AJ. Can you hear me? Okay, so Mr. AJ, we would like to know your full tech story and everything you like to share. Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. I can. Thank you very much. So, pretty much, I mean, I started out as a designer, not directly working in a. And I was working with Fourth Canvas. Fourth Canvas is not entirely exactly a tech company, but um, I mean, so far we're working mostly with business in the tech space, and so like we are sort of like the household branding name for any for major tech businesses or tech companies in Nigeria, right? And so I mean that was where I cut my teeth at first. Started out as a designer, started out as a brand designer. Um, However, I think I always knew that what I really wanted to do, was to, I mean, while I started out as a designer, rather, I started to like understand the fact that, when I get design briefs, there are certain people who write these briefs. There are certain people who think about why certain things should be in the design briefs, right? There are certain people who decide what elements and all the rest, right? And I wanted to know I mean, there has to be a thinking behind that. So I mean, I was curious about it, right? But then overall, I knew that I wasn't end as a designer, right? So my curiosity at that level was like triggered because I knew that it wasn't exactly as though my passion was with design or like I wake up sleeping and then everything in my life had to be design, right? I knew that I was more interested in knowing about the things behind what makes a successful company or a successful brand successful. And so, getting into the whole design process and then, realizing, okay, that was like the lowest hanging fruit, obviously, for me, right? Realizing, okay, there's certain things that the person who created the brief considered before sharing the brief, right? So got curious and then learned about what's called strategy, brand strategy, right? And so while I was at Fourth Canvas, Fourth Canvas was largely a design agency at that time, so it was just design. My curiosity got me to read and learn about brand strategy, and the very first brand strategy I mean, it wasn't even like the project came in as a brand strategy project. As a matter of fact, I sort of instigated and pushed the team that we need to do this thing, like, and then showed um, that I could do it. You understand? I think did a few brand strategy documentation for Fourth Canvas as a company in itself. So it was clear that we should be able to try something out, right? So I did like the very first strategy, and then a couple of other strategies for like brands, right, that we worked with, right? Um, and soon enough, I then realized, besides brand strategy, there was also the need. I mean, brand strategy requires that you're writing a lot, right? You're coming up with narratives, you're writing stories, right? Pretty much already doing what the guy who is sending me the creative brief for, like the design. I'm pretty much already doing what he was doing. So soon enough, I could find gigs or things on the side. I mean, gigs mostly actually on the side that where through which I explored this whole content thing in itself. So I started, writing some social media content, managing social media, and creating short form content and copies and ads alongside brand strategy. So I got like different gigs, was on contract, doing stuff like that. So soon enough, found myself doing like content, in itself, right? And then that was the beginning of me stepping fully into tech, because I then joined for Fairmoney as a marketing executive, where my role was largely, thinking about, executing all of the what's the word now? All of the marketing related like strategies, right? So from content to managing socials, to managing our newsletters, to managing like all of our channels, including offline channels like out of home ads, billboards, radio jingles, all the rest, right? So writing copies, writing content, creating stuff, right? And so that that started, and then in no time I realized that unlike my gigs where I just literally just write the stuff and then share. I'm in this company, and then they're asking me to send in a report, and then in my report I have to talk about the effect of what I've done. So I ran away from it all the while, right? I always felt like all these digital marketing things, I don't really like maths, stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I'm not sure I was going to like get into it. But soon enough, I was writing a report. Soon enough, I had to like check out analytics and find out what really is going on with whatever it is I'm doing, and what's my open rate, what's the engagement rate for social media, on posts, or like whatever it is I'm doing, right? So soon enough, I had to get myself deeply invested in the numbers behind marketing, and gradually learned. Took some time, learned. Then I worked with the guys at Founder, where then also then did some. Did growth marketing, and then started using all of my learnings, right, to work besides just like writing copies or creating content, or creating social media strategies and marketing strategies and brand strategies, right? I had to now start thinking as to the numbers behind it, right? So we're expecting X number of customers. What's our growth rate? What's our customer lifetime value and all the rest, right? So that's like knowing those things and then implementing them. So it was clearly, at that time, I'd gone far beyond just design. So it was clearly, already at another level. And then I'm still on that journey, right? So in my current role, but yeah, that has been how it started up until where I am right now. So yeah, I hope I covered most of some of the details.
Oh, yes, you really did. I really thank you for that. It was really extensive, and you can understand how the journey was, although it was not really designed, but you had to stay with it and just take the step little by little. And thank you very much. Thank you, AJ. Okay, so I'll be throwing this next question to you, AJ. Okay, so, well, when you noticed from your story, from the peculiarity of your story, when you noticed that, okay, it's marketing or that you want to do exactly and not design, what were the factors that further influenced the decision? Like, what? How did you not get distracted in design? Do you get my question?
So, it's not. I think that it's oftentimes not like a straight path, right? I mean, I'm doing marketing today. It doesn't mean I'm that's where I really see myself, honestly, right? Um, so, like I said, my thinking when I started design was because I felt I knew. I mean, when I was going to start working at all, I knew that I was quite intrigued by the thinking behind the success of businesses and brands and companies, right? Um, the closest, lowest hanging fruit for me was design because I also went on strike. My dad had some, work experience in the printing industry, so obviously, like I could easily jump into design right there. So that's how I started my design journey. But I know that what I really what I really was looking out for, the things that really caught my interest was, finding like seeing um, all the CEOs and consultants, like business consultants and others, and seeing like how they come up with strategies for their companies and new visions for their companies, and then how they're able to navigate different decisions, different layers of operations to come up with, I mean, to build whatever successful business or whatever successful companies that they build, right? So um, it's not as though like I on doing marketing in itself. So um, it was that was the overall vision. So I think that that's like the very first thing, right? In terms of like whatever factor would influence it, right? I think that you need to sort of like have like a picture of where you see yourself to some extent. It might not be clear, you might not really understand it, right? And then what's the closest, walk it back. So what's the closest thing to that place that you want to be as to where you are right now, and then you get started with that. So I mean, for me, it was design, right? Got started with it. As soon as I got into it, then curiosity set in. Then I wanted to learn more. Then I wanted to add more value to myself, add more value to the people I was working with, right? So um, um, so it wasn't like a split switch is what I'm trying to say. There's no split switch. It was gradual, walking through different processes and then getting to see here, getting to see there, curious, learn, observe, make mistakes, plenty mistakes, and then your drive, just, I mean, whatever it is that you are trying to get, so just eventually just like, oh, I mean, I'm not really interested in design again. I don't like design again, and then I think there's a lot more I want to learn in this field, so I'm going to go deeper into it, right? And so that would be it, right? So while I was a designer, I explored design rather to the fullest of it, just like I'm exploring marketing to the fullest of which I can explore it right now as well. So so it was not as though there was any contradiction or something that is really taking, or you feel like, oh, you're in the wrong place, or you're boxed or stuff like that. As for me, that wasn't the story, right? And that's simply like I said, because I sort of had what it is I thought I wanted to do. So yeah, I don't know if I was able to really answer that question well.
Yeah, I believe you did. The way you explained the fact that getting the big picture but not running towards it immediately, you have to like backtrack and find the nearest, easiest road to it at that moment and just maximize what you had at that moment. So yes, I believe you answered the question fully. Thank you very much, AJ. So Idris, same question. Your transition from back end development to even being encouraged to create content and developers relationship. So what were the factors that influenced it? What were the little things all around that made you feel that this switching is right? You could go for it and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the first thing I figured out is that like I do come across like several articles from blacks, like not white, because the popular ones or problem solving article that's always common online is by one white person and the like. So on my timeline I see the likes of Bolaji, the likes of Shedrack and the likes of Eddie Young. creating content. So, and I found out that their contents are really useful also. So I that curiosity started, and started thinking, okay, it looks like I can also create something that I'm currently learning. This is not even about what like having to create maybe something around what they have created before, but just coming up with your own and creating it. So and it's not a full transition anyways, so it's not a full switching because I wasn't a full-time technical writer. I only write content in my free time, which is like a part-time role. So, but the switch, or let me say the adoption, or like what really interests me to pick up to start writing while I have like full-time job that require my full attention to code and the likes, is that at some point when I started seeing those articles from like some big guys, that these guys I know in tech in Nigeria and the likes. So I started thinking, okay, I could also contribute something in my own way. Then I created my blog, like the personal blog on Ashnode. Then I tried to create content in my free time, like I said earlier. Then creating those content now translate to I start to benefit some things that no one would explain to you. Things like when you create content, you get to learn that thing twice. So when I'm trying to figure out something online or building anything that I'm currently learning, then I realize that when I want to write about it, I now research more. I even get to understand it better than the way I think I did earlier on. So that serves like a great advantage for me to even do better, because it helps me technically to improve technically, and also improve my communication skills, how to teach somebody to understand something that I think I know, or something I clearly understand. So that's like a big plus for me, and that serves like something that I always think of, that okay, when I if I think I know something, then okay, try to write about it to see, do you really understand this thing, and can you teach people? Because there are cases where you understand but you can't teach. So those are some of the things that I figure out, and those things kind of push me to create content in my free time. Even before I figure out that technical writers get paid to write content, I was writing the content based on the fact that I was benefiting from it, and I got like very few engagement from people, like feedback saying that hey, your content is good, and and some point I didn't get any feedback. Nobody even engaged with the content. But over time it piles up and appears in Google results, and get feedback like thank you for creating such content. It does help me to fix this and fix that. So the transition was just like the curiosity, like I said, I'm like somebody that is always curious in whatsoever thing I'm doing. So where curiosity do start is if I realize that okay, how does this thing even work? That's where everything starts. So how does technical writing work? Then I started creating content. So how, because when I was starting out, when I got the intern opportunity, I did some little front end work. Then I started to question myself, how does back end work? So that's how I started doing some things in back end, and I've transitioned fully to back end, and I spent almost like 80% of my career building in backend, like focusing on backend technologies and building backend stuff. So that same curiosity is the same thing that drives me to kind of get um, that drive to create content. So switching to create content now means that okay, when I now start to get like requests for people for me to write for them, and they get to pay me, and then it kind of triggers my interest again. I say, hey, so people get paid to write. Interesting. So if I could do this over the weekend and just create content and I get paid, that's really nice. Then that's how I just keep doing it. So while I'm doing my full-time job during the week, I try to see if I can create content over the weekend and see how I can publish it in the coming weeks. And some of my content are not just they are planned content that I create. So that's how the switching happens. Then before I now start doing it, like okay, if I'm not working, then I'm creating content, or probably I'm speaking somewhere. Yeah, so it has been between content creation, software development, transitioning to a content creator, then now working as a developer relations engineer.
Thank you very much, Idris. Thank you very much. I really gained from your from the answer you just given. One thing that struck me was the fact that you didn't switch due to maybe the external benefits. You had the curiosity. You saw that okay, this made you develop yourself personally. So regardless of whether there was engagement or not, you still kept on sharing the
Yeah,
contents,
yeah,
putting them out, and yeah, it's good. It's good. Thank you very much for the answer.
yes, yes.
Um,
I think because
okay.
I figured it out later on. So because there's another thing to figure out that okay now like people some people still don't know they pay technical writer, but um now that it's kind of popular somehow that technical writing you want to write. That's when I even figure out that if you don't have content that you have created, don't even apply to write because you want to get the money. You need to have proofs of content that you have created. So because I had proofs, I've created several content. It was, let me say, pretty much slightly easier for me to get like a writing gig for people because they already see like, okay, oh, this person have this experience and this person knows how to write.
Okay, so thank you very much, Idris. Really appreciate. If you are just joining us, this is Switching Careers in Tech, the July edition of Beyond the Code, and our panelists have been sharing their story. They have been explaining to us the factors that influence their switch, and I believe that you have been learning a thing or two. So don't forget to subscribe so that you can get notifications of other videos and check our description so that you can watch for more videos of the webinar. Okay, so next up, I'll be bringing Mr. AJ. And this might come in as a very, very funny question. I'm sure you're aware of the what you ordered versus what you got. So try to bring a comparison with the little moments you were in design compared to you now moving fully into marketing that you always wanted to do. How can you kind of compare both experiences and as what you imagined, what you expected to be in marketing, and after you got there, the reality? What's the balance? Has it been what you ordered? Has it been what you got? Or just share a story on that. We like to know.
Yeah, I mean, as I would like to almost say that, well, I kind of like had a glimpse of it, right? I would say that it's totally different, it's totally different. Um, because at that point, you're no longer thinking of, um, writing for writing's sake. You are thinking about it because as a designer, if you are, for example, a designer, you oftentimes maybe you are writing during a project or a task, and then you actually like maybe create some copies or something like that. I mean, it fits into the design. It makes a lot of sense. But then when you start doing it day day out, when you start doing it every other day, then you realize that creative block when you are dealing with words like is a thing, right? Um, there's like numerous ways of saying the same thing, right? And one of the things that um, made me start shutting down my design interest was the fact that I mean, way earlier, I think I saw someone recently. It was maybe I recall someone was talking about recently about how design is subjective. I'd always had that like I knew that thing like since the way back because I feel like someone somewhere just like just questions like the design work and all the rest. So just already feel like man, I think I would rather want to do something where the person on the other side respects the fact that I put my thoughts through this and doesn't just say, "Oh, change this color there, change that color there." But already you get into marketing itself, and then people actually still have their opinions, and you're still going to have to relay the message behind whatever marketing campaign you created, right? People still are still going to say that oh this thing or like I see my other friend who owns this company do XYZ campaign, why are we not doing on the same channel, you understand, or stuff like that, or I see a competitor doing this thing, this marketing thing, this particular kind of style of marketing or this particular kind of thing, why are we not doing it as well, right? So I mean, if you were running away from subjectivity of someone's judgment, well, here you are now. Somebody else is going to give you the same thing. You understand? So, like, I think that was something as well. And then also, I got to realize how much, I had to do a lot more interaction with people. You're working on a campaign. You want to have influencers. You want to have people partner. You know, you're going to have to deal with them. Like, that I mean, for me initially, my own was that, I just sit down, come up with ideas, come up with campaigns. I mean, I mean, I can come up with campaigns and strategies for like I can continue doing it. You understand? But then you realize that you have to interface with the people who you are going to share this campaign with, the who you are going to work with, stakeholders in the company. You're going to have to report, a report of all of those activities. I didn't like. It sort of was when I got into it, I realized, and then had to like sit up and get the what's it called, get the tempo right. But yeah, um, it wasn't as though I wasn't disappointed entirely, but then it was just like a new realization of, what this is what it takes to be in this space, to be in this on this career path. This is what is required, you understand, and then now sit up and work towards that. So you would always have like your own thoughts or premonitions about a particular career path, and you feel like, oh, this makes sense, that makes sense, even if you get so close to it, until you actually start doing it as well, and then you realize that, oh, there are also other nuances that you probably didn't think about before, right? And that you have to like adjust to and sit up to, right? So but it wasn't in any way like something that was supposed to like make me feel, taken aback and feel like, well, let me run back to where I was coming from or anything like that. It wasn't that for me. So yeah. Rex, I think you're mute actually.
Okay. Thank you very much, AJ. Not to break the flow, I want to relay this next question. As you said, you weren't totally disappointed, but it was not a straight line. It was not exactly what you imagined and even expected. You understand? Okay. So, what were the things that made it difficult in expectations versus reality, and what are the things that made it easy? The switching, the moving, you understand? When you got there, what are the things that made you feel, okay, I think I shouldn't have left design? And what are the things that still made you continue, like, okay, I think this place is quite soft. Let's just take it step by step. I'd like you to share that.
Well, I think, I mean, if you ask the question, what were the things that made me feel like, oh, I shouldn't have left design? I think first it was money. I felt like that afterwards, after some time, because like, obviously, I mean, I tried my hands on product design for a bit, but I wasn't really like driven to it, because it was like, it was sort of like you could kind of predict the expectations, and then it was not creative in that sense, sort of, for me. So I just felt like, no, I have all these like bumbling ideas that I always like have in my head. Like, I need to always like, do something where I can, use those ideas and explore them. You understand? So, but then all of a sudden realizing that how more product designers are getting paid like good money, and then you are actually like on that path already, and then you stepped out and then started doing this, and then I'm like, oh man, I think I'm missing out, out of like good money, right? So that was actually something that I sort of feel like, you know. But besides that, there wasn't any other thing that made the transitioning process difficult. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Switching careers is not just a you don't just wake up today and feel like a designer and then start designing. You don't just wake up, I mean, then start designing, and then 2 weeks into it you wake up and you feel like a marketing person and you want to switch careers into marketing. Or then you wake up 4 months later and you feel like your product management is what I want to do, and then you start doing that. Right? You would really just get exhausted like along the way, right? What is sustainable? The approach that works, is that you have a, like I said, it doesn't have to be a vision or something like serious or again. But there's just certain things that catches your fancy and catches your curiosity all the time, right? And you know that thing, and you feel like, oh, I would like to do this thing, at some point in my life or eventually. Even if you can't, I mean, if many times, why not just go head on into it, right? So could have also asked me the question, even start out designing, if you knew you were into interested in marketing, why didn't you just go ahead on, into marketing in itself? I think I'm already branching out of your question, but I feel like it's actually something that, people should, learn about when they watch the video, right? So yeah, like why did you just head on right into it, right? Sometimes you know what you want to be, sometimes you don't know what you want to be, sometimes you know what you want to do, sometimes you don't know what you want to do, but many times it is always a process of growth, right? You start out somewhere and then you keep moving up based on, just like Idris was talking about. You're curious about a certain thing, you're exploring your skill set in that certain thing, you're exploring your strength in that certain thing. Even though you have a 9 to 5 day job where you're doing design or where you're doing back-end development, you find out that, oh, I also like this thing. I want to try it out, right? And then you start trying that out. You start learning about it, right? It makes the whole, when you eventually feel like, oh, I think I want to do this thing fully. What's the word? It makes it easier at that point. It makes it a solid journey and a solid process for you, as against the fact that you feel like, oh, today I'm dumping product management is boring. I'm dumping this. I'm dumping marketing. I have to do too many, writing, stuff like that. You really, like I said, you really just tire yourself out. So it starts with having like that, picture of something that you really feel like, oh, this is the path I think I want to go, right? And then you start walking that path in any way possible, right? In any way possible. It could be around it, it could be on top of it, it could be directly heading on into it, right? And then when you get in there, your interest, your curiosity keeps developing and keeps growing, right? One other thing that is very critical and important is the fact that you are also thinking about adding value to yourself and adding value to whoever you are working with at the time. So if you're working with a business, or if it's your own business and stuff, like you are really thinking about, oh, today I can do this style of design, I can do this style, I can do these techniques, right? What are the newest things in the space? What are the other things that people don't do in the space? What are the things that will make my employer, want to, or my next employer want to pay me more? You understand? What are things that are valuable that I can say I bring to the table besides, what every other person brings to the table, right? Uh, and just layer those things as well on whatever it is that you're doing. And when it's time, and then when you're making the switch and you're making the transition, you already have a very good glimpse and idea as to that space and what exactly you are exploring. And so, it just then helps you to, sort of breathe in and, get things going. So yeah. And then another thing that makes it difficult, sorry, I almost forgot, is the fact that you become a novice, you become a learner in that new space, right? I don't know Ola's Idris's story, right? But there was an agent that was already told a particular line of design all the while, suddenly withdraws and becomes a learner in marketing. You understand? And probably, I mean, takes a lesser paycheck. You understand? Because he has to now go, a little bit lower on all the rest, right? But you can tell that, oh, you can tell that, oh, this person, you can tell that, oh, I have to do this right now because I need to learn as much as I need and then layer what I know already on it and then come up with more value. You understand? It could be that, you understand, but like I said, one thing that also makes it difficult is the fact that you're probably going to be a novice, a learner, like you're going to get a lower rank, you drop one rank or two ranks, in terms of like experience for this new career, so that you're able to like learn and then shoot up again. Understand? So like that could be difficult as well. That could be a very very difficult part. As well. So yeah, I think that.
Thank you so much, AJ. Really appreciate that extensive answer. I could relate to the fact that you said even just learning a new thing, maybe you're already in the career and you you think you have gotten so good at the part, and you get informed that okay, there's another thing. Then you start learning from the beginning. There's a feeling of novice, like, oh, I thought you understand. So could really relate, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Idris will be coming up right now, and same question, Idris. Is Idris here with us?
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
here.
so comparing the role from backend engineer in the middle of content creator and the developers relations engineer. So what's, how has the expectations, what were the expectations you had before switching? Obviously not totally. And the reality, how has it been? What's the balance?
Yeah, so I think the first one thing I want to touch is that developer relations engineer revolves around connecting, building developer communities around products, building, sharing knowledge, building, just building interactions, getting feedback on product, and relating with developers directly. So there are like it also adds some parts where you build in public, do some content creations and the like. So from like being a backend to a developer relations engineer. So I've been doing more on content creation, sharing knowledge, building in public, and also trying to put myself out there. So it's pretty much the same. But what I would say is kind of different right now is that you even do more planning than just it's way more beyond just content creation or way more beyond writing technical content. So now you do a lot of planning. You engage a lot of meetings to get things right. You do some relations between within your company with the marketing, engineering, and you just have to do several meetings, planning, documents, like documents. You prepare documents each time. So even if you are proposing any idea or there's anything you need to carry out, you need to have like documents so that we can share for everyone to be on the same page. And some of these things that normally you might not even think of doing in the role. All you just want to come and do is maybe create content, or at some point all you want to do is to just speak in conferences and that's all. But it's way more beyond that. You plan, you create content, you kind of keep yourself up to date with what is happening with your product and what they are currently working on, what the developer should expect, building the ecosystem, either you have product or not. But if you are the developer relations person for your company, not developer advocate, then you should always think around execution, planning, and also relations between the developer ecosystem. So that's like what I would say is different from comparing like what I ordered and what I got. Though it's kind of similar, just like slight different, which you if you are not currently in the role, you can't get to understand that. So until get in, then calm down, try to, just like AJ said, you kind of should I say, just try to because normally you need to always learn in every field you are, especially in tech. You need to always learn, so you need to be open to learning new stuff. So getting into the space, you need, there's some new things that you definitely come across, and you need to kind of be open to learn. So you learn from those things, and from there you can now shoot up, like AJ said, that when you get grasp of those things, then you can now confidently do them right. So I hope I answered your question. Yeah, on mute.
Okay, so to continue the flow of your answer, what are the difficult, the hurdles you faced, even although, as you said, the roles are not too different, but you said as you enter the new role, the developers advocate role, you see some differences that are very obvious and stuff like that. So what were the hurdles you faced? Like, what are the difficult parts, and what also made it easy? What also made
Oh,
it for you
okay.
to like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So relating with building relations within people has been like something I do while I work as a backend developer. So for all the companies I've joined or work with them as a backend developer, I have that, I learned that communication skills over time to relate to people and, do all of those things. So now I'm also doing some content creation as a part-time role. It's like another form for me to relate to people and create content. So I leverage on Twitter, LinkedIn, just to interact with people, and also even outside, online activities. I leverage on a couple of, communities on site where we can get to like share ideas and relate in general. So that the I wouldn't say it's an like hurdle or something, but the only thing is just that when you do something part time and you kind of set out time to do it. So like I said earlier, that we learn, like you should be open to learning. So but when you do it in full time, when you do something full time, means that you need to even pay more attention to all of those things. So I would say like you need to now pay more attention, means that it's likely that you face some extra things that you don't even know or you are not aware of. But so far in the journey, it has been kind of smooth. The only different part of it is that document meetings and stuff like that. So it's smooth because this is not like the very first time I'm doing something like this. I've been doing it while I was working as backend developer, doing some part-time stuff and the like. So it's just like me improving on what I think I know or what I think I know well, and even making it better and getting advice from my manager, from professionals. There are some advice that could really change your life and take the way you think and approach things. Getting having those kind of people around me like makes the work pretty much easier for me to do. Yeah. So I think that should answer. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Idris. Really appreciate your answer. The part where you said you must always keep learning, no matter what, whether you're even switching roles or not, learning must be continuous. And thank you very much.
Yes.
So, to our audience at home, I hope you have been learning quite a few things, because I myself here, I'm so engrossed and I'm learning. Always keep learning. Have that big picture in your mind. It's not going to be smooth, but when you just start and take few steps, you get a clear picture of what you want to do. So these are a lot of things. I'm sure you're writing it down. So if you have questions, you can drop it at the comments for anybody watching. If you have questions, you can drop it in comments. We'll soon get to that right now. Okay, so now I will going to throw this question to Mr. AJ. We are coming towards the end of the video. So, in your personal opinion, is there a should I say perfect time or best time? The question kind of lingers between both words. Is there a perfect time to switch career, or is it subjective to a lot of conditions? I'd like to know your personal opinion on that.
I think that there's no perfect time. I mean, you're the one who decides the conditions. You're the one who decides the time. And like I said the other time, I mean, why did I have to go through design before I started doing marketing? I could as well have started as a marketing person initially, right? So there's no perfect time or perfect route, right? There is none. Some things just stay constant, like learning, adding value to yourself, getting curious, being aware, self-aware, right? So you're self-aware of like that place where you are in, in terms of like your new career and then your previous career, and then there's no perfect time to make that kind of move, um especially if you already like have been thinking about it, right? If you have interest in something, learn it, go ahead and try it out, go ahead and do it. You could start with gigs or find opportunities, like Idris was saying about writing by himself, and then he didn't exactly like wait to get feedback. He just kept writing so that I could self-develop as well. So um you know that's him already starting out. Sorry, I just lost power. But yeah, that's him already starting out, and that's him already like getting to do what he really wants to do. So yeah, pretty much that's it.
Thank you so much, AJ. Really appreciate your time. And okay, so to the last question, but not the least, to Idris. Okay, so putting it out to you, saying, is there a best time? Are there perfect conditions? Are there pointers for you to
Um,
feel like to switch the role and just, or maybe just move further in what you're doing?
yeah, so they are not. There's no perfect time, just like AJ said. There's no perfect time, but there are pointers for you to think maybe it's a good move for you. So everything is risk anyway. So, but there are some things you should consider. So, um, taking AJ for example, why you transition from design to marketing, and I think he figured it out that okay, I need to do this. Uh, some There are some things that really works for him, or maybe some of his curiosity around marketing. Now he now feels okay. Do I really have interest in this? Is this something I can go into? So that's like a condition for non-coders or non-technical person. But for technical person where you are like front end and you are planning to switch to back end, so you should take out some time, like even if it is weeks, to learn the fundamentals about backend and see some of the things that's happening there to see if you actually have interest, because it boils down to interest. If you don't have interest in this in any of your move, then all those moves are wrong moves. You need to really have interest first. At first you might not get the interest, but when trying to search for the fundamentals and stuff, then you will see some things that will really catch your interest, and some things that you think you have interest in, or maybe going forward you would have more interest in. So those are like pointers to consider. And another thing to consider is that, say you're switching from front end to back end, it's still development, but the difference is that you build the actual code instead of just working on consuming API on the front end. So that means that you need to first ask yourself, is this something um you want to do, or is it something you can do in the long term, or is it something you will probably not get tired of doing? So that way, those are the things that will facilitate your switching. And also, if you're switching out from you're a developer and you're switching into maybe full-time content creator or full-time marketing person or full-time product manager, so you don't just switch, or you don't just quit your current job and you know go and start applying for program manager. Of course, you need to have some experience. If possible, your current workplace, you can take up some tasks that are related to where you think you want to be next and do them and learn from it while you are still doing your primary job. So those are the things that will give you edge. So even if you have like interviews with potential employers, you could easily tell them this is what you have done and these are some of the things you've encountered and this is how you were able to solve them. So those are like the pointers that you need to consider when switching roles in tech specifically. But transitioning from non-tech background to tech background is quite different. That one you are new to, like in very new environments, you need to figure out where you need to be. From within techs like front end, back end, marketing, design, project management, and the likes, you need to first find out where you are going to do some intensive research to figure out if this is actually what you want to do, or can you do this thing in the long term. Even if you don't really understand that you can do it like in the long term, like something you want to do forever if possible. When you start, if it catches your interest, like if it's something you think you're interested about, then go for it. Then every other thing comes next because you have the interest, so you figure it out as time goes on.
Thank you so much, Idris. Thank you so much, AJ. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your, sharing your experiences and advices here and there. So, there's a question from James Chimdindu. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Okay, I think this is for AJ. And the question is, there was a point where you mentioned you getting to a point in marketing and discovered that you had to deal with numbers without loving maths. So I think this person is trying to ask, how did you find your way around that part? The question exactly is, how did you do branding without loving maths? So
How did I do branding without loving math? Well, I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm not a. It's not like I cannot do the regular addition, right? And like do like regular arithmetic rather. I just would rather find other, ways of like solving a problem than going the going the logic route per se. You understand? So I mean, that was like my thoughts, right? So um, doing design and working on branding and campaign strategies, right, didn't exactly require me to, coming up with strategies and ideas didn't exactly require me to use like my arithmetical mathematical side. You understand? But I mean that made it pretty much easy to continue, as a designer and like as a branding person. But then when it comes to marketing, then you have to be aware of all of those things. They need to track numbers. They need to be very 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 what's it called? Just like being able to like know what to expect from like a campaign, and then be very sure that your numbers are like adding up. It as well. Like maybe you have KPIs and targets. Um, you have some kind of deliverables that sort of hinged on numbers. So this campaign or that channel is supposed to get me this, supposed to get me that, understand? And then what's the value of the customers that we're getting over 6 months, over 10 months, over another way. So I mean, I it's not like I was a dollar, so of course maths to the extent that was needed, but like I didn't exactly envisage that I was going to be doing a lot of all of those calculations week in week out, day in, or like month in month out, whatever frequency that I required to do that. But yeah, I mean that's basically it.
thank you so much, AJ. So one last question for both AJ and Idris, just fast questions. One advice for anybody planning to switch. You can get ridiculous reasons like even boredom. So, okay, let's put in that sense. A tech bro, a Texas comes to you and like, I'm tired of design. I think I want to do development or the other way around or other roles. What is one advice that you give the person?
Oh, the question is for me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I mean, I didn't know. All right, so I think pretty much be self-aware, right? So don't lose track of where you are in terms of like your progress and what you're really able to do, right? Be very aware of your value. Self-awareness involves that you know your value, to that company, in the space that you're in, right? So you can even be very sure on how much you should be getting paid for whatever it is that you're doing, right? How much you know and how much you need to know, per time. You understand? Being aware of like every phase of your growth and letting that guide pretty much your decision in your career trajectory. So yeah, I think self awareness is a very very important thing.
These two, for anybody switching, their roles in tech, can you just hear me? Um, okay, I think network. Can you just hear me? Okay, so one advice for anybody switching roles, whether from non-technical background to the other way around, or even between tech roles or between software engineering, one advice for the person, what would that be?
Okay, so I think one advice should be to know the space that you are going into. So if you are switching between techs, then just be sure that at least you know like some certain percentage of you know where you are going to. Like once you figure that out, then just be consistent, because sometimes if you are not a little bit patient with that new role or that new field you are in tech, you might not really get the best out of it, because you can't just jump in and expect everything to start working fine. Then if you don't get that, then you jump out. So you need to be consistent in anything you are doing, either design, marketing, or whatsoever. Just be consistent. Take your time, and take your time to learn what is required for the job, and always build in public. It will really help you to switch when it's required. So if building in public means that if you get roles that are relating to that particular thing you are building in public, so they will just easily reach out to you saying, hey, are you interested in this role? We figure out that you have experience, and that's due to some of the things you do in public and share content, interact with people, engage with them, and share ideas on what you're currently doing. Yeah, so that's what I'll just add to what AJ said.
Okay. Thank you so much, AJ and Idris. Really appreciate giving your time, and I'm sure the audience appreciates too, and they've written one or two things. So thank you very much. And also to our audience, I'm sure you've written something down. You have something to take home and to work upon. Yes. Okay. So to our audience, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share, don't forget to like, so that other people can see and so that you can get notifications on our videos. You can also check our description so that you can check for other previous editions of this webinar, ranging from getting your first job to even dating online, a tech sis or a tech bro, and how to find the money in tech. So a lot of variety of questions, a lot of variety of topics have been worked on in this webinar. So we say thank you so much for joining us and have a nice day.